Oh, I know.
Squiggles on the screen.
Yeah,
You're not recording?
I'm recording now. I'm recording the video part because the actual hard drive. I'm so used to SSD technology nowadays, where everything's instant, that I have a backup 5 terabyte hard drive connected to this computer, and it's got to spin up because it's not
Oh,
actually being used for much. It was like easy. Hold on. Let me get ready, and then it spins up. Welcome to the Paracast. I'm your host, Mas Hernandez, joining you. So happy. My neck is actually really hurting, so in about 10 minutes, I'm going to chug a bunch of muscle relaxers. And then,
pop some Vicodin.
pause,
And
gosh,
he's gonna start itching all over, and
I,
you will see him scratch like nobody's business.
I'm going to get a big drink of water, scratch, and then just drift off into a comfy dream cloud. It's like, you want to know how people get addicted to, like, opioids? Because they're awesome and they feel good. So, there you go. And then they make you hurt. But before that, it's all good times. Anyway, joining me tonight, he just found out cheat days are only for diets. It's Steve Koski.
Whoa! Wait a minute. I thought I'd get a mulligan.
I don't want to fight, but this is new information to me. That's all that conversation is like. If it was really bad, I wouldn't even tell you. He's known in the paint community as Huffzilla. It's Robert Wyatt.
I just need one more hit. Just one more hit. Come on.
The Sherman Williams is just like, get the hell out. This man is not allowed in the spray paint section. And
It said it was 30-40% off this week.
it's like, what's cheaper, Steve? You've probably done the calculation. Getting high off of
About
spray
half
paint
an
or
hour.
Natty Ice? Which one?
Gasoline.
Yeah.
Mike Rodriguez said gasoline was by far the cheapest high. You know how many times you get high on a gallon of gas?
But I assume he does.
In some of his younger days, he told me stories where they'd go down to the beach and get high on all kinds of things, and then they'd wake up like 3 days later.
Getting Narcan out.
He was.
Who knows? He's lucky he woke up at all.
No kidding. He was right-handed when he was born, and that guy is now left-handed. It rewires the brain. And you call it a police scanner. He calls it an early warning system. It's Kenny Terry.
You gotta know when they're coming.
I always, so when I play games with Officer Jared, he'll sometimes talk to me about hits they're going to do with the SWAT team, and all I need is a name and a phone number, and I'll be like, hey, I got $800 that you could send me that's going to make your life a whole lot easier, buddy. Just send it my way. This is crisp information from the source, and I wouldn't share any of it with Officer Jared because that, of course, would be illegal and unethical. So I would keep all the money just so he wouldn't have to deal with that. So, anyways, let's man, what an action-packed day of shooting Steve and I had.
I went to
two matches. Two matches.
Between me, Tom, and Kenny, we went to 5 matches yesterday.
5 matches. I mean,
well, between me, you, Tom, Kenny, I completed 1 match this week.
Shut up.
So
shut up, Robert.
Put that out there.
I went out there to go shoot IDPA with Steve, and I was like, you know what? I had the week off. I got an extra mag pouch, so I had 2 mag pouches for my HK45. My Comtac International holster showed up on Friday. I had it all set up. I did dry fire. I was practicing around. I was figuring out what shirt did tactical reloads the best.
That actually was your problem. See, it's IDPA, and you had practiced, and so the gods are obviously like, no. You can't be practicing.
you can't go. And I heard the weather was going to be bad, but I thought it was going to be like, hey guys, you're going to be shooting in the rain. Some people might not show up
all week long, and like I was delaying like signing up for USPSA just because of that.
But I thought it was going to be biatch weather and not like it was going to be rain and snowmageddon. So anyways,
let's be honest, 2 years ago Slipsa would have shot in that weather.
Yes.
Yeah.
But once again, the cost of ammunition has changed everyone's behavior, hasn't it, everybody?
Yeah, that's saying 2 years ago we would have shot in that. It would have been a debate.
Oh, it would have been 2 squads and 6 stages.
Yeah, nothing changed with Robert.
Nothing changed. He's still. I was talking to Donita on the way home, and I was like, and of course, because it's not perfect weather, Robert's not going to shoot either match. And she's like, ah. So, anyways,
I'm not wrong.
I
I'm
get up.
just saying.
I get up at the crack at 6:45, and I head on. I was like, all right, you know what? Let's go shoot a match. We haven't done this in 6 months. I put 200 rounds of 45 caliber ACP in the bag. I realized that I cleaned out my shooting bag, and what I didn't do was put stuff in it that I would need, such as gloves, a face mask, a beanie, and like other things that make my life normal while I'm going out. Also, I didn't bring any cash because I got so used to paying online for everything. But anyway, so I get in the car and I kiss the wife and everything, and I drive off, and I'm off, and I get all the way to the last McDonald's in Kaysville on Parish Lane. Like this is an hour and 7 minutes of driving to get up here. I pull over there, I eat something. I got to get in the 7-Eleven and get some cash. So I get my mask on, and then Leo, Grandmaster Leo, friend of the show, was on the few episodes back in the day. He calls me because he was going to shoot his first IDPA match with Mark Walkie of the famous Mark and Matt Walkie brothers, and so they were going to shoot their first IDPA match they've shot since like 1997. So basically the first match, and Leo was going to shoot it, and Leo calls me and said, "Hey, we just threw everything back in the connexes. We're not going to shoot the match." And I'm just like, well, F, Tucker. Because, like, I just drove an hour and 7 minutes from McDonald's. And so I call Steve, and Steve's like, well, good. Steve, why don't you fill us in on your match prep?
Oh, I woke up that morning, put my belt on, put my holster on, and there's no gun in the gun bag. And I'm like, well, suck. I haven't done that since about 1997 either. But it happened again.
So you only
So
went.
basically, you guys screwed up and you just forgot to prepare the night before and get all your stuff laid out.
Well,
I
I-
forget
That's-
how to
I'll
do
be
this,
honest with you.
Robert. We forget how to
That-
do this.
I
That
can
is-
technically
that is-
still
that
shoot
is
a match.
That is a rookie level move. Okay.
And I had
Nobody who
my
is a
mags were loaded
professional
with 10 rounds
actually
each.
forgets all of their shit before they have to go to a match. That is bitch move.
Wait a second.
Robert did it.
Where did you forgot your stuff?
I showed up to the match and I forgot the 2 score pads. And so we spent a half hour trying to get somebody's iPhone to work because my iPhone keeps crashing with practice score. And it's just like, oh man, the gods are conspiring against me for buying this gun
So
This is this week?
this week.
Oh, wow.
so
I bet everyone was really happy during that half hour.
well, you just do it like you did in the old days. It's like you write it on a piece of paper, and then you say like, "Hey, who's got an engineering? Who's got a STEM degree?" And then the first guy who raises their hand is like, "Hey, would you mind calculating these scores and get them back and getting them posted and emailed to these
You have
27
Excel, do
people?"
this.
Go ahead.
Well, it's just like everything that could have gone wrong did, because it was like obviously I didn't have the score pads, but it's like okay, well we'll just sync the match with another person's phone. Problem is like the Armory has their own Wi-Fi password. I have it on my phone, but I don't know what it is. So you can share between other iPhone users pretty easy. Problem with that is trying to do that, it kept erroring out, and so that didn't work. And then finally I did get one of them to work, but then I couldn't get the stupid scores or the match to actually sync up because it was on my phone. But every time I tried to launch practice score, for some reason it kept crashing.
I
Just like, oh, I hate
I
that.
solved this problem one time up in Canada while we were going to shoot an IDPA match up in Canada. We had set up for a class I taught up there, and we didn't have any stuff on the range. And then I thought, can't we send it via Bluetooth? And then they fired up their Bluetooth, and I fired up my Bluetooth, and then the Bluetooth saw each other, and I sent it across to their pad via Bluetooth. So I was like, no one ever thinks about Bluetooth like that, but you can send stuff
Well,
like that through Bluetooth.
If you would have come to my match, you could have given me that pearl of wisdom.
No, I would have been showing everyone my HK45, Robert. I got better shit to do.
You should use a notepad. I'm like, hey, old school. You'll see the results in 3 days.
Yeah, 3 days. Who won? Who won? Remember the good old days of like 2011? Who won the match? I think I shot pretty good. Did
Everybody
you
getting
shoot
all
pretty
pissed
good?
off. Poor Red Redford. Would you hurry up with the scores?
Yeah, and then it's just like, and
Oh
then
yeah.
you just get rip crap because when someone's like beat you by a little bit, and then then you would like check the math yourself. You'd be like, who made the mistake? Who made this mistake? I couldn't see that they possibly, and then like,
And then
that's
practice score takes over, and where you can have match results, you can have them posted within seconds of getting the final tablet in. But Jen Jolly wants to take the tablet home and clean it up and remove the shooters that didn't show up. I was like, Jen, post the results now. We want to see them now. Don't want to see them in 90 minutes or 2.5 hours. Just post the goddamn results.
I want to
We
get.
don't care if there's extra shooters at the bottom that didn't show up.
If I'm not
Post the results.
if I'm not risking my life on the way home on the freeway, scrolling the results, it's a failure of a match. I'm telling you that right
every
now.
club should wait 3 hours now.
Oh my gosh. You
And
know,
we'll start going longer. But yeah, next Saturday you'll see this week's results.
Come to the match.
yeah,
to find out last week's
you have
results.
to sign up for the next match to get the last match results. That's like an IDPA move coming up here
That
pretty soon.
reminds me of the early UDPL days. We would, there were days where we would mail out the match results, mail them.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, mail-in
That-
stages. Remember
Wait,
those?
like postal mail?
The postal matches too.
Oh, that's just rough.
Mhm.
Ugh, all the more
Those were
reason
the
to
days.
stop shooting IDPs.
Anyways,
What happened after that, Tom?
so anyways, I call Steve and Steve's like, "Hey, let's go get a cup of coffee." And I'm like, "All right." And so I start driving down and I call Kenny and I was like, "Okay, I would like to get my Beretta. Are you still at Slipsa?" And he's like, "I'm on my way. Why don't you come shoot Slipsa?" And I was like, "Nah, I just have 2 magazine pouches. I just have 200 rounds of 45." And Kenny's like, "Ah, who cares?" And it's like, "All right. Fine, I'm gonna go shoot USPSA with my HK-45, and I'll shoot it with my jacket on as like concealment, and I'll just have a fun time shooting my new gun." So then I call Steve and I said, "Steve, turn around. We're gonna shoot Slipsa." And Steve's like, "I still don't have a gun, but someone will have a Glock somewhere. We'll go shoot Slipsa." And so we're like, "Okay." So we just go. So we get there, and there's like some detour, and you got to turn around and flip around and come back. So I ended up getting there, and I get in there, and who do I see? Kenny Terry carrying targets from the stage to the Connex, and I'm like, "A what?" And Kenny's like, "We've only done it twice, I think, but we've canceled this match." And so I'm like, "Yippee!" And so then I go grab a box of 100 rounds of 45, and we go take the HK-45 to a bay and go shoot some steel. And so it was
Just like a Glock, it shoots left, right, Tom?
no. I shoot.
Tom shoots left.
I shoot. Okay. So I kind of figured that I was not.
All those years of jerking it.
Well, yeah. Well, it's all the months. So months off. So I was sitting there and I was shooting, and what I wasn't doing is like when you get to like the sear engagement, I wasn't actually like finishing the back of the press smoothly. I was kind of like jerking it. I was like, "That's weird. That's weird." And then like ting, that's weird. Ting, ting, ting. And then like I actually aimed and like felt the back of the trigger and it hit. I always hate that. And then it hit exactly where the damn sights were pointed. And I was just like, "Well, hell,
My
I'm
favorite part
jerking
of
trigger."
I fire a few rounds, and I'm like, this has pretty reasonable recoil. And Kenny's like, "Yeah, it's not too bad." And then we both look at each other and we're like, "Oh, these are Tom's reloads. These might be like 120 par factor."
200. Yeah, I gotta. That ammo.
600, baby.
Yeah.
They all fall to softball.
They all fall the softball. 200 grains. 200 grains moving at 600 feet per second. That's still. I just got to get them up to 650, and then it's production legal. So. But yeah, it was. We went out there and we shot 50 rounds to the HK-45, and it was like, it's really fun. Like I really like the gun. I think it's kind of a neat gun, and Kenny got to shoot it, and Steve got to shoot it.
I have the honor of the first malfunction.
Well, you hold semi-automatic pistols weird. You like hold them like this, and you
No,
had
I
something.
do
You,
not.
you
I
had
held it just fine.
you had like
It
your
pinched
thumb
the
on
last case in the
it. It pinched the last case in the magazine, so we got to check that out. See what the heck
in
that was
action.
about.
It got it sideways, but then it caught it.
Yeah. So
Steve was the first one to shoot it weekend too, right?
yeah, Steve
Yeah.
was.
Steve
I shot a
it
weekend double action.
Yeah.
Did you see the veins popping out of my neck as I was grunting and groaning?
It has a short double action throw, but it's short and 450 pounds. So it was fun though. It was like a really fun gun to go out there and shoot, and like surprisingly, like it has pretty low recoil, so that was kind of nice. Kenny liked it, except for the magazine release, because why, Kenny? Why can't you?
Fat woman hands. That's Robert.
And so Kenny, like, if you're watching this on YouTube, PARAcast Firearms Podcast on YouTube, search that. I can easily bend my finger to push down the magazine release to kick it out with my trigger finger, my index finger. Kenny's finger is like much larger, but like it can't bend far enough back to and then push down also. And so it's completely useless to him.
If I try to use my index finger, I'm an AD in that gun. I can't get my finger that far back.
Oh, okay.
It's like Chris Farley putting on the small coat, and he's like, and it like stretches out and busts in the back. So it was fun. It was a really good time. I really enjoyed going out there and at least breaking 50 shots. And then on the way home, I swung by Robert's house, and he gave me my birthday present of 1,000 primers, which I appreciate it. And then we were talking about the HK45, and then Robert's like, "Would you like large
Wait,
pistol?"
it's my birthday too.
Send them all.
Can I swing by?
No, forget where I live.
With every purchase of a Happy Meal. So Robert traded me those small pistol primers for large pistol primers, so now I can load 1,000 rounds of 45. And so, like 1,000 rounds of 45 with the 650 or 700 I have left in that case, like I'm just happy as a clam. And then after he asked, he said, "Let me get you some large pistol primers." And he said, "Anything else?" And I said, "All your 45 caliber reloading equipment for a Dillon 650." And then he was like, "Fine." And then we went in there and we found it.
What?
And so, well, I'm just borrowing it.
Wow.
I have like the dies, but now I have.
Robert, did you take pictures? Because I have a feeling it's going to return in the same condition the Beretta came back from Kenny.
Missing parts.
Missing parts, missing a holster.
No,
Eventually,
Robert.
Eventually, I'll get around to loading 45 again, and
Well-
then I'll just go to Tom's house and get it back.
I loaded it last, and so I returned it, and then he put it away, and then I got it, so I can just hold on to it for him. I mean, that-
You literally were the last person that used it. I've loaded so much 45 up that it's just at this point it's all sitting in cans. And so when I eventually burn it out, because the last time I really shot 45 outside of like my SBR was that IDPA match. So that's how long it's been.
I have Jim Smith's 380 ACP dies. I was like, "Jim, you're never going to use these dies again, so I'm just going to keep them at my house." And he's like, "Yeah, you're probably right."
That was the happiest day when I got rid of that at 380. I've still got tons of that brass.
Well, let's talk about small pistols here. Because in the era of the 380s, remember a while ago when Glock was like, "We're going to make the Glock 42," and everybody else was going, "We're going to make the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard." And then like everybody else was like in the Ruger LCP, which some people still carry. It's like the Gen 1s. It's like, you can't get through to those people.
The
That's the
Gen
ninja
1
shit
is still
there.
vastly better than
It
the
is.
Bodyguard. That Bodyguard's a terrible gun.
The the Ruger LCP Gen 1 was the king of the 380 small pocket wallet-sized handguns because like they sold the most of them, they worked. Ruger rebuilt everything on those guns if you had a problem. They were pretty good, but everyone started to shift to 9mm, and so then it became 9mm single stacks. Glock 43, Smith & Wesson.
Well, the Shield was kind of first.
Shield, Smith & Wesson. The ones that were first were the
Car.
No, the Springfield Armory XD.
Oh, the XDS.
The XD, yeah.
That was before they destroyed the gun.
Well, yeah. Well, some recalls. You got to destroy a gun to prevent future lawsuits, so you lose money either way. So they had like the XDSs. Remember in 45, the single stack 45. Everyone was like, "Wow!" And then they came out with the 9, and then they had the Bodyguard and the 43, and all these single stack 9mm, the Bursa BP 9cc that no one bought, and who cares anymore. So all those types of guns that were out there and put out there, and then now it's small guns. There's no material in the grip so it can hold a large capacity, 10 plus 1, 12 plus 1. And so you have the P365s, and you have the Hellcats. And now Smith & Wesson has thrown their hat in the ring, which was the best, I think, single stack 9mm gun. Pretty close. Well, yeah, as far as market support and everything else, was the Shield.
The M&P Shield objectively was the Glock of the single stack 9mm.
8+1 gun,
that everybody
very easy to
had
shoot.
to compare against.
Yeah.
The recoil.
You could
It
shoot
was
all
very
day.
very. Oh, it was It's fantastic. It's the reason I still carried it,
And
because it
so
was just a great gun.
we literally had the conversation about the Smith and Wesson M&P Shield last week. I go take a nap. I wake up. I throw on YouTube. Julie Golliv's talking about the Shield Plus, and then Robert went out and bought a Shield Plus. So Robert, what's the Shield Plus?
Oh, it's the greatest. It's the greatest small gun ever built. So they came out. They took the shield, and then they shoved 13 rounds into the magazine, and that's pretty much it. But it's if you hold them side by side. So I took a picture of them side by side. The Shield Plus is just barely a little bit chunkier in the grip, but I mean it's hard to even notice it. But it holds 13 round. It holds 13 rounds in the magazine, so you get 14 rounds in the gun. I tell you what, putting that magazine into it with all the 13, I mean you're slamming that thing in because it does not want to go. I think the springs probably just need to compress a little bit, and then it'll probably be a little bit easier.
So that's with a
But
bit of an extended magazine. Do they make a flush one that's 10+1 or?
they make a flush jobber, but to be honest with you, I don't know why anybody would want to carry it because the gun conceals it conceals exceptionally well, even with the 13 rounds.
So 13+1, is it Glock 19 sized?
No, it's shield
Is
size.
it shorter? Is it shorter than a Glock 19? Just height, from sights to the
I don't have my
bottom
19
of the
here.
magazine.
It
I
is
would
smaller than a 19.
I would
Shorter than a 19.
generally in the single stack guns
So the 19 is going to be about right there, on mine.
the length
But
of
so
the
you can
barrel
see
will
that
be
it's
different.
so the I'm trying to just describe it. Basically, the grip from there to there is pretty similar,
So it's probably a little shorter than a 19.
but obviously it's going to be skinny. Sorry, I don't like pointing guns at myself. But it's skinnier in the
It's
grip.
skinnier than the Glocks.
Very much so, yeah. Because
So
the Glock is going to be a double stack. This
Well,
is
this is a double stack.
it
13 rounds.
kind
It's-
There's got to be.
it's a
right?
kind
it's
of
a
is.
mutant
It's
stack.
it's got this weird kind of like diagonally stack design that they jam so they can get that jammed into there.
So it's double stacked till it gets to about the
Double
top 3 rounds, and then it becomes a single stack at the top, single feed
Mhm.
system at the top. And if you look at it with the grip and how it is like, well, that's how you get a slightly wider grip. But when you get into the parts where you actually have to put steel in the frame and then match it up with the slide, you have to narrow out that magazine to get it to seat up there. And because the magazines are hard to, because there's no give. Like when you put 30 rounds in an MP5 mag or 31 rounds in an AR-15 mag, and then you try to seat the magazine.
Oh, racking that round when there's 13 in there that's rough. I've only shot 10 rounds out of it. I was in the middle of the match and I was just like, I just got to go shoot it. But
So the mag's bottomed out. There's no more spring in play.
it's I've left it filled with 13, all basically since I bought it, just to kind of see where it is. It is noticeably easier to seat that 13th than when I first got it, and so I got to take it to the range and fill it all the way up and then just shoot it out and just see how that comes. One of the other thing that they did that you can see is the trigger is different.
It's like almost flat faced.
So it'll be a flat face, and they got rid of the hinge hook. That's the hinge hook design that's on the
They went with
standard
the Glock
M&Ps.
blade.
Yeah.
Trigger blade.
So when it goes back to the sear, it becomes a flat face. I'm not really a fan of that, but I actually really liked the standard M&P triggers. I think that was just the way that my finger actually wrapped around by the time it hit the sear engagement and then broke. It was always very, very flat, so I could shoot it really well. But the coolest thing to me is on the shield. It was only it was not ambidextrous on the magazine release, and it was the one thing that I was like, well, I can deal with it. I've dealt with that kind of thing before, but under the new one, you can actually swap the mag release.
Oh,
And
nice.
I would have bought another shield just to get that. And it's not like it's that big of a deal, but I have noticed when you're actually shooting the gun, if you're trying to pull it out, there has been times where trying to pull the gun out of the holster, I've accidentally popped that mag release, and it would obviously you'd lose the magazine, have to tap rack it back in. And so to have it on, for me, what would be the right hand side of the gun, I think is absolutely amazing. But I think they did a great job with this gun. The fact that you can use all of your legacy holsters is awesome. Some of the guns come with so they're going to have the performance center version that'll be all ported and stuff like that with the fiber optic sights. They're going to have an RDS on it. It's the
Because
micro ones. I think
if
those are called something specific. I'm
if
not sure,
there's
but
one thing the Smith and Wesson engineers love is less burnt powder coming down the end of that barrel. They're like, let's make the barrel shorter. Let's give it ports. Let's get more
yeah.
powder out without being burned up. Let's do it.
Well, it's the same, and I didn't realize this until somebody had mentioned it. But one of the biggest problems with both Springfield and with Smith and Wesson is they have that. I don't know if you can see it in the camera here, but they have that witness hole at the top. See if you
Yeah.
can see if there's a loaded a loaded around there. The problem is when you fire that gun, little bits of powder come up, and if you've got an optic sitting there, it's going to smoke the lens,
Hmm.
and so that's kind of suboptimal. But I don't know. For most people that are only going to shoot like 1 or 2 rounds a year, it's probably not that big of a deal. But I'm excited. I'm excited. I got home, and Andrew's like, "Oh, cool! You bought me a new gun." I'm like, "No, this is mine. I'm keeping this."
You get the seconds, I told you. You can have the single stack. Take
Well, I
it.
mean that technically that is her gun.
Yeah.
And not technically, legally, it actually is her gun. I've just been using it for a long time because I liked it so much. But no, it was really funny though because I went into the store and they were sitting there, just three of them sitting in a box. And I'm like, "Is that the new shield?" They're like, "Yeah, it is." And I just pull it out. I'm like, "Oh man, I really want to get this." I'm like, "How much is it?" Like $5.99. I'm like, "Oh, okay. You know what? I'm just gonna get that." And then I like in the back of my head, I'm like, "I wonder what Andrew's gonna say." And so I open up my wallet and I start thumbing through all the bills. And I'm like, "Okay, how much is it? How much is the tax?" You're like, $6.43. And I'm like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 50. Oh, sweet. Here's the cash.
Andrew's not going to say anything.
No one's gonna know nothing. How do you like that? That's it's so funny. It's like firearms is like handgun design. It's like there's no free lunch in it at all. So like there's no design. You can't get both the best of both worlds. You move the barrel farther up, you're going to have a shorter barrel, but you're going to have like a better locking. There's like all this crazy stuff.
It's like Thomas Sowell said, there's no solutions, only trade-offs.
Yeah, there's no solutions, only trade-offs. And so it's like I got this HK-45. Okay, it holds 10 rounds. Your gun is half the size. It holds 13 in the magazine, right? Um, This gun, appearance-wise, looks like it's one of the largest handguns you can buy. And then you actually stack it up against other things. A Beretta 92 is longer. Like a Beretta 92 a Beretta 92 is longer. A Beretta 92 is also fatter than it.
And looks better. Don't forget that.
It does kind of look better.
Better.
But it's a little shorter. This HK-45 is the same size as the 1911, except for all the reviews that people are like, it's much larger than my 1911, my 5-inch. And there's like, put a micrometer on it, biatch. It's not that much larger than your 1911. But it's like.
And speaking of things that aren't much larger, the specs are the same: 5.04 inches for a Glock 19 height, 5.1 inches for an M&P.
Yep.
Shield Plus with a 13-round mag. They're essentially the same.
Yep. And the one thing is like with the Shield mag is like you can put the 10-rounder in, and that's the nice thing about those things is like. When I bought the Bursa, the one thing that sold me on that Bursa was the grip was always 8+1. But there was no magazine extensions, so I always had a full grip on the gun. It was literally just a Glock 19 cut down the middle, and the Shield had a 6+1, and then it had the extended 8+1 magazine that had the sleeve, and I didn't like that. But it's kind of cool that you can get these fighting caliber handguns. Like 10+1 is still a pretty damn good amount of shooting power in it, and like it just can like hide away.
Yeah, I'll take the extension over having my pinky finger kind of dangling out underneath the magazine every day of the week. I mean, and the thing that makes it so good over the Glock 19, which I love, is just the fact that the slimness of the design means it conceals that much easier. It's just that much less bulk that's kind of pushing out in front of you.
Yep. So.
But then I also sold a gun this week, so that was fun.
That's where the $650 came from.
Actually, no, it was I sold that like a day later. I sold that.
What did you sell?
No, I sold one of my CZCTSs. One of my limited guns.
Why?
It's the tax sport.
Kenny's offended. Why? Why would you sell a limited gun? Limited's the best division.
No.
You have 36 production guns. And
It's because somebody wanted it. And think about this, Dan Wesson. They're going to come out with the DWX. That's a nice gun. I
Mm.
mean, come on,
Are you gonna buy
tell me
one?
I'm wrong. Oh, I'll buy one.
I
Yeah.
would love to fondle it if you.
You know what?
You should
Not
let
only
Kenny
will I let
borrow
you
it.
fondle it, I'll let you shoot it so much the bullets come out.
Nice.
And
Look,
then
Tom,
it'll
I
be.
return a gun. It just might miss half the safety.
Listen, you know what? It's I like this version of the gun that has the 92x safety and a story that came with it, so it's lovely.
Yeah,
Uh,
it has extra grips that came with it. You actually got more parts with it than
I technically did get more parts than what came with the gun, so it
And who
was.
wants a safety on the other side anyway? When are you going to use that?
Yo,
Robert's like, I need a
who
safety.
that shoots with the correct hand
Wants a safety like that. You
I
use
mean,
your
if it's
teeth,
Robert's
Robert.
gun,
damn
then that's
you,
one thing.
damn you, Kenny.
Yeah, it's they're kind of wonderful. Anyways, talking about all these new guns. If you like bullets, head over to gallonbullets.com. Use promo code PUPRO10. Wearing the shirt today. Promo code PUPRO10. Save 10% off your first order. Get that in, and then you can get your bullets. And then also, DominateDefense.com. I had my Dominate Defense belt that I wore to 2 matches yesterday in practice with.
Wore to 2 matches and shot some plates with it.
I'll tell you what, it's just as comfortable going to a match as it is driving home from a match.
The best thing, nobody beat you at those matches.
No. No. The good thing is too is that, like, it saved me from actually having to shoot L10. So you win all the time. There's wins everywhere in life, folks. You just have to look on the bright side. So check that out. Also head on Facebook.com/Practical Arm Response Academy. You can send us questions there. You can also head on over to Telegram and download the app. You can join our little Telegram group. You can send us questions there and do all that jazz. And then you can also head on to patreon.com or subscribe star, give us $1 a month and get a longer uncensored version of the show. Robert.
From Mark Miller, why did Kenny back out of the Dragons Cup? Now there's room for you, Robert.
Worked and on my vacation.
Those bastards.
Yeah. So, like, if we want to be a mechanic, so we start hiring some people, so we can take vacation again, that'd be awesome.
Talk to your children, everybody.
I always love that. It's just like, yes, of course, vacation's part of your employment, but what's also part of your employment is doing what the hell we say. So we're just going to cash out your vacation. Or you can have a week in the end of August, the beginning of September, late February. We have those available for you if you would like. It's just, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Who wants to do things on vacation? Go ahead.
From Mike Skanishi, how important is it for the match director to bring score pads to his match? Shut up.
Lex,
You're
it's
That
still
is
fresh.
important as Steve bringing a gun.
You know what's funny too is like
Somebody's actually going to have a loaner for you.
well, here's the deal. This is the other thing. Is like I was leaving the house and I've been carrying around my Glock 17, my 5th gen Glock 17, for my concealed carry gun appendix carry. So I've been carrying that around. And so like I was leaving the house and I was just like, Tom, you got like 200 rounds in a 45 caliber gun. Just load up 2 magazines. You're going to be good. I was like, you know what, Tom, that's a good idea. I'll just do that. And then I'll leave the Glock 17 at home. And then when Steve said that he was missing his Glock 17, I was like, he can just shoot my wow. I guess he can't. So never mind. So like we almost had the answer to every problem. We could have showed up there and just had cold hands while we picked up steel, but alas.
And honestly, the days when matches get canceled, that reminds me, there was one, I can't even remember the exact story, but we're out at the farm. The match got canceled. And somehow Josh Wakamatsu and I like kicked around for a half hour. And then we ended up like shooting all day and went around and shot all the stages and all the bays because the sun came out like 45 minutes later. And it was the most fun I'd probably ever had at that point. It was so fun. So when a match get canceled, just stick around and shoot.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully, and after you're done, just don't stick around long enough for the guy who's responsible for putting everything away to go, hey, can you guys give me a hand? And they're like, oh, sorry, everybody, it's not a match.
Go mow the lawn.
Then you yell, I didn't pay a match fee, and then you walk off.
Exactly. No harm, no foul. We shot all day. It was rainy, and we had fun.
From Alex Coco went. What is your least favorite powder?
Wet Unique. I had a bad experience one time with Wet Unique.
Least favorite powder.
It's really, well, it's really bullet powder combo. I think
I'm
is
gonna
the
say
best way you can do
Clays
this.
in 9 millimeter. I had really Clays is not known for performing well, and it will run the gun, but it is not accurate because it's so fast, and a 9 millimeter does bad things.
There used to be a time when I was poor, and um, I would use this stuff from Hodgson's called Tight Group, and that was trash. But then I got money, and I'm like, I don't got time for that crap anymore. So I would say Tight Group is probably my least favorite powder.
Yeah,
I'm still poor and I still use tight group.
tight. I have plenty of tight group, and I will use tight group because the one thing that it tight group and 45 caliber bullets. Like it's not the best load ever. Like obviously bullseye is like a really great load for 45 caliber, but it works pretty well, and it works pretty well on the coated bullets when you have a big ass coated bullet behind there, so it doesn't leave like leading or anything like that. So like tight group is fine, and when you have, listen, all our problems would be solved with powders if you just went to a little website called Montana Gold. It's like it's very hard to find a powder that a Montana Gold bullet cannot solve with like its casing or its hardening. Like if you would like to go pay 12 cents per bullet somewhere and get full metal, well, sorry,
That's cheap, 12 cents.
it's 12 it's 2021. I forgot. If you would like to pay 22 cents per bullet, just the bullet, and load it up somewhere with some fancy thing, like you could almost shoot like pretty much any half decent powder. My favorite story is when I got some of these Bumblebee bullets back in the day, and then I
Oh,
overloaded
man.
them with Unique, and they would shoot like 12-inch groups, and I was like, what the hell's going on? And so I gave them to Steve, and then Steve brought back like the report of like his grouping is like this one shot a 13-inch group, this one shot an 11-inch group. And then I was looking at the powder, I was like, oh, okay, because it was back in that day of reloading when you were like, we're going to shoot a steel match, I really want to drive the steel down, what's the max load the book says? 5.2. Got it, I'll just do 5.1. And it's just like it has, there should be something in the book that says like under lead loads and like under like Unique star. Here's the little asterisk. Then you go down and read it. Will greatly will greatly
This is the point of
decrease
diminishing
accuracy returns.
returns.
Will greatly decrease accuracy. Do not use load unless you can't measure it out and you have to fight zombies or something like
Unique,
that.
unique is kind of one of those great powders that doesn't do anything exceptionally well, but will at least run everything.
And it fills up a 9 millimeter case.
And a 40 case.
Yes, and so it's like
you're gonna a double charge will fill up a 40 case and you'll see it.
yeah.
Where you could put 3 or 4 charges of tight group in a
Oh.
40 case.
Tight group, you could blow up a 45 like 4 times. Like tight group in a 45 case, you're like got the light, you're like, all right.
It's barely filled the primer hole.
Like 4.4 grains of Unique in a 45 case. That's twice the volume of a 9 millimeter case. You grab the light, you're like looking in there, you're just like, okay, like I hope this works. And then you go out there and you shoot it, and it's fine. But man, tight group, it's good stuff. And not everyone can afford the N320. The
I'm not getting any 320 either. I just get that Prima V. I mean,
Yeah.
that stuff's only like what, $14 a pound. So, well, what, a kilo? That's not bad.
No, that's not bad. That's pretty cheap.
From Calvin Leatherwood, I got some 180 grain plated bullets. Do I need to change my load data, or can I use the load from my coated bullets? The bullet weights and profiles are the same. Add 0.3 grains. There you go. That's it.
Yeah, it'll be close.
It really will. Yeah. The conversion between plated, jacketed, and lead coated is always 0.3 grains.
And
it'll put you extremely close to what you were on the other.
so
Yep.
where in the plated bullet are we losing pressure that we have to add the 0.3 grains to get it to equal velocity?
I think the lead or coated bullet just seals it better. That's always been my theory. I don't have any data behind it. I just think that a coated bullet's softer than a plated bullet, and so or lead bullet for that matter. And so when you actually put the pressure behind it, it expands more easily to fill up all the barrel, and so it just takes a little bit less.
I haven't loaded a plated round for so long I can't hardly remember. But I always thought that the plated bullets were softer and more similar to the coated bullets. And the jacketed bullets were kind of in the other camp. Is that
I-
wrong?
I can only tell you based on my load data, and anytime I'm looking for load data, if I have jacketed data, I treat it the same as plated data,
Okay.
and I drop 0.3 off of it. And
Well,
conversely, if I'm trying to go from a
Kenny's nodding
coated
his head,
to
so everyone do that.
Yes.
I can't
So-
remember.
Yeah, so I went from plated to coated not that long ago, and Robert's White is same way with 40 or 9 was pretty much the same.
Okay.
Well, I think everyone should just send us 1,000 bullets of plated and 1,000 bullets of coated bullets, and we'll test it out for you guys. And anyway, if you guys happen to find someone who makes a 180 grain 45 caliber full metal jacket bullet that I can load, please send us the link, because I would like to duplicate the load that was built around the HK Series 45 handguns, which was a 185 grain jacketed hollow point plus P load.
At 1350.
That would
That'll move it smartly.
there was one, I think, back in the days for the Mark 23. They had a copper coated 185 grain plus P jacketed hollow point, and you got to think like 180 grains in a 40 cal is a pretty solid stopper, and then you just add a little bit larger diameter out of that bullet, and you're thinking like that thing's got to be a laser beam of hell. And so I just want to make like 200 of them, and then if I ever get to a spinner, like I just want to see the difference on like a spinner between a 230 grain
You
moving
can
at like
pull out your special ammo like I handed to Robert.
Hey, I know you can
can
push a
spray it into the
230
dirt.
over 1,000. Okay, Rob. Or something.
what can you push a 230 over 1,000?
Yeah, yeah.
Hell, that would be
On
fun.
purpose?
I maybe made that mistake when I was shooting my 1911.
I've done that. I loaded off the wrong line.
Yeah.
The frame and the slide literally talked to Kenny. Like the hammer went back and it started acting like a mouth. It was like, "Stop it, Kenny! Stop it! It's too much! It's too much! Stop it!" I swear I read the data correctly. It said 8.3 grains of tight group. It'll get us over the hump.
Once you shoot a couple over the chrono, you're like, oh, that can't be right. I'll shoot a couple more. And you're like, I'll shoot a couple more over somebody else's chrono. And you're like, no, but that's correct.
That's flying. That's flying. Yeah, that's. Oh, yeah. So you know,
That's exactly what Bob what's his name did. He showed me some. They were 40 cases with big bulges. He was shooting them out of his para back in his USPSA days. This is a Bob you met on shooting straight.
shooting straight. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And he showed me like 3 or 4 cases that were crazy bulged, and then he showed me one that was blown. He's like, "Yeah, I just kept shooting him." I was like, "Something's wrong. Something's wrong." And then finally, like number 8, let's go. And he's like, "Yeah, I think I'll stop now."
You know, there's not a lot of 45, 40, or 9mm handguns that'll take 230 power factor ammunition consistently. Some may say that might be plus P plus around there. Just marginally like 30% hotter than like a proof load. So you know, like you just get what you get. You just go out there and you shoot it and you figure stuff out. It's science, everybody. It's not really science as it is scholasticism. You just go out there and see what happens. Hey, the apple fell from the tree. It hurt my head. Gravity must be there somewhere. So that's all it is, folks. It's just fun.
From
It's ju-
Alex Mansfield.
It's just
If I can
money in your
squat-
hands. It's just money, your hands, and your eyes. That's all that's at stake.
From Alex Mansfield. If I can squat at a local match with Jake Martins, should I play walkthrough music? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you should. You absolutely should on every single stage.
Make sure for yourself you select J-Boy by Phoenix, and then
If you could just make sure that you get it on video, and then send me a copy. Don't do it on Facebook because I'm not on there anymore. But if you do it, send me a copy because I really
mean,
want to see this.
if it's the shooter's time, can't the shooter play his own damn walkthrough music? Like,
Hell yeah, you can.
can't I wear?
Once the stage is yours, you can do whatever you want, right?
Why doesn't
Whether
everyone?
scoring the previous shooter, you can start your music.
Okay,
Mhm.
precision holsters. If you're listening to this podcast, you need to get like a holster that'll hold like a JBL Flip 4 portable speaker, and that would allow you to do it. And then you should make something so people don't have to use their phones, because obviously their phones are going to be used for filming them shoot the stage. But you should get like the JBL speaker and then like a little like connection device that connects directly to the JBL speaker that holds one song, two songs, an outro. Everyone needs an outro, and then they just the
During
sh-
unloading show clear,
Yeah,
it kind of fades up.
it fades up and then it plays down. And then on the back of their belt, what they're not using, they press the one button once and it plays the intro that they can do it as max volume. As any intro, it's your damn stage, it's your damn tide, you paid your full match fee. Get off my back, yo. And then so you do that, and then when they're done, when they're unloading show and clear, so they like mag out, they rack it, dry fire the thing, put it back in, and when they put it back in, they simply reach back and double tap for outro music, and as they're walking off the stage and collecting their magazines, it plays like some heroic theme that eventually fades out. And so like this is a market that is untapped. It's literally the western half of the United States. It's west of the Mississippi. It's just virgin territory waiting for everyone to take. And then
Where's Jake Martin's home range?
I don't know. Bumfuckistan, Nowhereville. I don't know.
great, you're editing.
Tom's outro music's playing. They say, hey, Tom, you want to look at this target?
No thanks.
Is the video still rolling?
It's a mic. It's a mic. We get it. It's a mic. That's why I'm trying to develop a bullet that after it hits, well, once it reaches peak velocity, it'll have like an oblong shape that peels off the bullet. Like if a NASCAR car goes backwards, it has the air fins that deploy to stabilize the car, right? So it stops spinning. And so this 45 caliber 9mm bullet will just have a simple wing, like 25% of the bullet that pops up. So it hits the target, that wing pops up, and then they go, I only see one hit. And you say, no, no, no. Put on the overlay. And then they put on the overlay, it's two. Tell me there's 8,000 C-class shooters who would buy this thinking that it's going to put them over the top.
I just figured out Tom is the one that wanted the lights.
Thanks for ruining our sport, Tom.
There's going to be a light. Man. There's going to be a light that can burn a paper target. So if you see a mic on the unload and show clear, you just turn the light to the target, press the button. Oh no. Well, it looks like it's a reshoot.
Do you guys listen to, was it the Shoot Fast podcast where they had Mason Lane, Ben Berry on?
No, I have not.
Yeah, they unloaded on those rule changes. And Mason was right. I mean, putting the flashlight on those things, it's the more you really start to think about it, I'm like, this is a stupid rule.
It's a frame-mounted weight.
It's a Pandora's box.
Why do we want that in single stack or production?
Yeah, Strader's already like, trying to figure out how to put tungsten into some gun or into some flashlight.
Well, did you see that dude that made the brass sleeves to go over batteries, and then he used smaller batteries, but the light still worked?
Yeah.
That's just
the start. That is just the start.
It's just a weight down.
This is what you have the bezel, right? So like there's the round part, like here's the front of the glass and here's the bezel. And then behind that you have the battery compartment. Well, stop putting CR123s because it just has to show light a little bit, and then go get one of those CR2023 like batteries you put in like your Aimpoint T1, and you mount that flat right behind the bezel. And then you have all this other compartment. What would we do with all this empty compartment? Should we shorten the light to reduce the weight? No, sir. You fill it with tungsten.
Well, that's a funny thing. I mean, like I think it was Mason was talking about it. Like we've in the idea of inclusivity, we've like put lights. We've now allowed lights on guns. But in the process of doing that, you've now taken and said this is what you can do, and now that's now a requirement to actually compete in the division, because you know that everybody at the upper end is going to put that on and be like, oh wow, this actually makes a noticeable difference. So all the people are going to start doing it, and it's just more crap that you have to start doing,
which is not helping.
No.
1 second per point down. How bad does it sound, everybody?
I'm actually curious to see how many top end. I know Mason said he would, and then Ben said he wouldn't. So I'm actually curious to see how many top end guys do.
Ben doesn't shoot anymore though, so Ben is effectively a has-been.
Yeah. Okay. But I'm still curious.
I don't mean that with disrespect. I really don't. But I mean, by his own admission, he will have nothing to do with USPSA anymore because he hates the leadership.
He hates the leadership.
I'm curious how many top end guys will do it.
The
What's that,
range
Steve?
officers. He says the officiating's terrible. That's why he doesn't want to shoot nationals, is because officiating's terrible,
He's not
which I find is really odd. Like, I mean, if I'm the best NASCAR, if I'm among the 5 best NASCAR drivers in the world, even if I've got a beef with the NASCAR officials, I'm still gonna run. I'm still gonna race, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can
not
have
from
a
his
beef and still
perspective.
race.
I mean, not from his perspective. He is number one. He is essentially the production king, and
Well,
so
he
he
wasn't
has
last
nothing.
year.
It's because
He
he
didn't
didn't show
play.
up.
Right.
Ex-
So he's
But
not
that's
the
the thing.
king anymore.
He has nothing. He has nothing to win or lose by going. If he goes and he wins another title, so what? He won another title. If he goes and he loses, well, then he lost the title. And so
Well,
it's not really. There's no real advantage or reason for him
they they had
to
a
go
word
shoot
for this
that.
back in the day. It was called retirement. You would announce your retirement and say that you're not competing anymore, but not say that why you were going out there and quitting or leaving the sport. Like odd rules. Like if you're leaving this, if you're not competitive, going to compete because of the leadership of the sport, and like the relationship between the person that he helped get elected and himself, if we haven't noticed in the past few years, has deteriorated quite dramatically. So,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
like,
I
I
don't know if
just
he's going to run, but if you guys listen to this show and you want a better president, you guys should all go talk to Yi Min because that guy actually gets out and he goes to matches. He knows what's going on in the actual game. You should like tell him to run for
Oh,
president
I would
because
love to
unlike
vote for
Yeeman would
Yeeman.
be awesome.
oh, he would be. He'd be the best person you could have because he actually knows the game. He knows what goes on in it, and he basically he's like the most competitor friendly like range officer CRO and in the entire
Yeah,
country.
and
Everybody
he's a
knows
Marine.
him. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
well,
mean he actually is legitimate, and
I
he's a damn sight better than Foley right now because Foley's whole like idea in the world is, hey, let's get more people into this game, whether we need more people or not. Which kind of newsflash, we don't need more people in this game. I mean, I'm just gonna put that out there. We don't have enough like availability to like host all to actually fill all these matches up as it is. And this idea of just increasing membership for the sake of saying that we increase membership, what are we really doing? I
well,
mean, every single president that ever gets in there is like, oh yeah, we're gonna do more club support. Yeah, what's the one thing that they never do? Club support.
well,
They don't do squat for club
club
ever.
club support costs money, Robert.
Yeah,
No,
they want
it's
to make that money. You give them the $1 million.
I'm
You-
just saying there's a reason that they went from 6 classifiers to 8 because they need
Yeah.
to make that money somehow.
Give them that
There's
money.
no other reason.
well,
It's purely about money. And I get it. We need to make money for the org. That's fine. You know, whoop-de-doo. I have no issues with it necessarily. But they come in and this idea that they're doing all these things for the shooters. They're doing nothing for the shooters. USPSA is an organization that's sole purpose is to run a classification system and run nationals. And they do both of those very poorly, especially when they come out and they say, hey, we're going to go and change the rules every single year, and we're going to make all these divisions continuously worse.
I don't have any problem with them trying to grow the sport. Just don't grow the sport at the cost of the divisions.
And that's literally what they're
Yes,
doing.
at the cost of ruining the competition.
Like I'm
Let's
happy.
not grow the
Well,
I
I-
sport.
I love seeing new
Do they actually
shooters.
want it to be a competition anymore, Steve? I mean, I don't think Foley wants it to be a competition anymore. I think he just wants a fucking money in a game. I mean, he doesn't care about the competition. He doesn't care if it's fair or anything.
Yeah.
I mean, they're losing the integrity of the freaking game right
Well,
now.
the one thing is like don't have a rules and don't have equipment based on the lowest common denominator of the people who volunteered for the sport. One, if you held people to accountable or like paid people to be professional CROs or semi-professional CROs, and everyone paid an extra $25 a match fee, so you could have people who understand and knew the rules and knew what guns were legal and knew what hammers were legal and what wasn't, we would
That's
not
what
be.
happens. That's what happens at level 2, level 3 matches, right?
Yeah,
So,
but
yeah.
but you get
Somewhat, yeah.
you get people though that they don't trust their ability to do it and may not be able to do it, and so it's just like, well, then let's not have, then let's ruin production, and then let's ruin this division. And now, since we can't literally have an approved list of flashlights or a decent way of testing flashlights, then we're gonna have flashlights in name only.
Well, and all these past rule changes have all been centered around the idea that the ROs and the guys sitting in equipment are too stupid to figure out what is legal and illegal equipment. I mean, if you want to like sum it all up, that's the premise for every single rule change that we've seen in production so far. Is well, we don't want to have to actually make the ROs do their frickin' job. So instead, let's just go and like just make the rules so open-ended that anybody can run whatever they want. And we've now taken what was a division that had a viable skill set, and we've just neutered it to the point of just stupidity. Now, Optics has come in, and they've obliterated all the divisions out there, but that's neither here nor there. It's still the point that why are we not at least honoring the rule set that we had, and instead we're just going to say, oh, well, we don't even care anymore, and that's literally what's happened.
Yeah, well, they don't care about those divisions as much, so there's less incentive to sit there and make them, and maybe they're just playing around with them to see what will make them more popular or not. But it's
But that's the thing. Are we bringing more people? Are we bringing more people into this game organically, or are we just rearranging deck chairs and taking people out of limited, taking people out of production, and says, oh, we have this great division called Optics, and look how popular it is.
well,
Well, yeah, but you just went and took people out of these divisions. It's not like we grew people into this game that then stuck around for longer than 18 months.
Well, like here's the news slash for everybody. How many people have we ever had as new shooters in the thousands of matches we've shot? They literally came up and said to us, like, look, I saw this. Like, I stumbled. I was walking down the alley. I found an issue of front sight. I read it. I fell in love. I then read all the rules. Then I selected all my equipment based on the division I wanted to compete in. And I'm here. No, it's this. No, my brother likes to shoot guns. We heard there is a match. What kind of gun do you have? I have a Glock and I have two 17-round magazines. Okay, we're going to put you in limited. You're going to go borrow a gun and a mag over here. We're going to get you up to 3 or 4 magazines. Here are the rules. Stick by me. We're going to walk you through this. I have not seen anybody who, through advertising or any other means, has come into a USPSA match. They don't know the rules. They come in there, they saw it, and generally, you know what division they stick in? Is the division they own a gun for and show up. That's what happens. As far as growing membership through rule changes, people do not know the rules when they show up for their matches to begin with.
Yeah, not generally. I mean, and I agree. People come in shooting production in USPSA because in a lot of cases they came from IDPA. IDPA has a very similar division called SSP. So that's a natural, like basically two divisions that speak well to each other. That makes perfect sense. Beyond that, all the people that ever come to the new shooter matches, they don't care. They never once. They're just like they're there. They want to learn how to play the game, have a little bit of fun, and see if it's something that they're going to enjoy. And most of those people, they come in, they play for a little while, and then they leave. Some of the other people, they stick around. But everyone that sticks around, they're like, okay, well, here's the division that I like to play, and I'm going to go do that.
Yep.
Occasionally, you'll have this conversation of people like, well, is this gun valid? Am I going to be competitive in this division? You always ask them the same question. Well, why are you doing this in the first place? I want to get really good with my carry gun. Well, then guess what? The division doesn't freaking matter.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like they try and like make these arguments that, oh, we're going to be more inclusive. It doesn't happen. People aren't just sitting there saying, well, I'd shoot USPSA, but I can't shoot my AIWB rig. Yeah, you can. It's called limited. You can do it all day long. And guess what? Not only can you fill your mags up, you can shoot AIWB. You can do just about everything. Well, I have a comp and a dot. Cool. Open.
Well,
We had all the divisions for all these things that they're pretending like they care about, but they're like, oh, well, you can't be competitive. Most of the people that play this game, the only reason they're playing the game is because they want to get out and mowing the lawn on Saturday.
well, I think here's what stems, and we got to go because we're getting close to an hour. Here's the main part. Why are all these things allowed to be on the guns? Anybody want to take a hit? It starts with 6, ends with an O, and then has an OZ. I don't give 2 bits of care if you have a light on your gun. What I care about is if your light's meant to weigh up the gun. When we got rid of weight limits for stuff, we opened Pandora's box to what people could do. If you had a light on your Glock 17 or your Glock 34 and your Glock or the division had a total weight limit of 43 ounces, I don't give 2 craps if you have a light on your gun. Don't have a laser. Don't fire it up. If you can't turn it on for like some sort of night match or whatever stage we're actually going to play around with special rules, then don't turn it on. But the main problem here is that we're fighting is a weight limit. And it's like, we opened the door to Pandora's box when we had the Tanfos and the Shadow 2s, and everything else kept getting heavier and heavier and heavier. And then the cheapest way to get all the manufacturers happy with their polymer frame and their aluminum frame guns was allow people to make them heavier. We need to go back to a production set weight limit.
Mm-hmm.
You get the stock weight of the gun plus 2 ounces.
Or you just literally do the IDPA thing and give it 43 ounces. Whatever you want to put on your service pistol, feel free. You get 40.
I took my brass grips off.
You get 42 ounces. Well, I carry a steel-framed CZ with a rail, an SPO1 with a. Well, you can't shoot with the light, champ. Well, I like to shoot with the light. Okay, well then you're gonna have to get a different gun or neuter the thing.
Limited.
Like,
shoot in limited. God damn it.
We have a division for you guys who have guns that weigh that much. Get a lighter weight limit. That's all we need. We need a lighter weight limit in the divisions. It would fix the problems that cause and go out. Because remember, there's no answers. There's no trade-offs, right? There's just trade-offs here. There's just little things you can get. And it's just like weight limit, fit in there. You don't fit in there, get a different gun, go to a different division. It would keep all the divisions sane. And if you have a problem with the rules, if you honest to God have a problem with the rules and the way they are, then why don't you shoot the gun in the division like you wish the rules were?
No. They can't have that because everyone has that special carve out for their own special little, like, significant little place to live in the world. Because that's how we are now. Everybody gets a trophy in carry optics that happens to have a light and all these other little Jimmy James things. It's just dumb.
Well, I know. It's just that there's a light on the hill and it's called the moral high ground. So why doesn't everyone migrate there for a little bit?
Yeah.
Do that. Anyways,
last question from Eric.
What the hell?
Into this really quick. Just remember all this when election time comes.
Which one?
Yep.
Oh, the USPSA election.
Yeah. I mean the rules.
Yes.
God damn
No.
it, Joe Biden's gonna fix our.
Oh, the poor guy. The poor guy. All right, Eric Sale, go.
It's a good one. So, what's the best and worst thing you've ever bought for reloading?
Oh shit.
Okay, I've got one. You know the Lee cutters, like the
Yes.
the brass cutters, the little manual jobbers. When I was very first, like brand new into reloading, I thought you had to trim brass, right? So I bought a Lee 9mm brass cutter.
Oh, yeah.
Also, that should go in the
Like
back.
Ray Sarajevo with all his trimmed 40 brass.
Oh my
And he's
god!
like he's like got purple marks on the head stamps. He's trying to get every one of them back. It's like, I'm like, Ray, you don't have to trim pistol brass. He's like, I know, but I've been trimming it for so long, I can't stop.
I can't stop myself. I gotta
Right.
get more trimming action. Okay, so if you're watching the video on my middle finger, you probably can't see it, but there's like a half moon scar right here, right above my middle fingernail, and that's from the Lee zip trimmer. And for people who did not want to have a trimmer that would be powered by anything like electricity or gasoline or coal, you could get the Lee zip trimmer. And so you would hold this piece of brass, okay, and then you would have this. Well, no, sorry, the brass would go on the zip trimmer and it would clamp on, right? And so if it was off a little bit, it would swirl off balance. And so I was chamfering and deburring a 223 brass, and so you grab the zip handle and you pull it and it goes vzz, and then like you trim the brass while the thing is on. So it slipped, and then that sharp piece of brass went into my fingernail and then cut like a half moon shape out of my fingernail. And like the zip trimmer was like there's a reason people stay poor is because they buy like a Lee zip trimmer and then they get permanently disabled, so they're no longer able to work. And so it's like the Lee zip trimmer was probably the worst thing I ever bought.
I'm gonna say a beam scale because that's how I blew up my first block. Probably the worst thing I ever bought. Best thing I ever bought was closely related. It's called a digital scale. And you don't have to sit there and try and stop the thing from going up and down with your finger, and all that.
Well, it's all the guys who's like, I'm not gonna get a reloading scale. I can get the same scale from like well, they go to the other store and they're like, hey, guess what? This one has 4 different measurements. It's got grains, it's got grams, it's got this, and like you're the first time reloader is like, gee, how many? 4.3 grams of powder. Wow, I didn't know it took this much powder. It's like, no, just get the one that just measures in grains, Kenny.
I have no idea. I really love my father before I ever bought anything. So I don't think I've ever bought anything that was terrible.
So you need to ask your dad, hey, Dad, what's the
Yeah.
worst thing you ever bought?
I just learned from him. I was like, all right, that's what I need.
The money well spent, the Lee Loadmaster explosive shield that protects you from flying debris when you try to load federal primers. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I heard Matt Hopkins is running for Area 3 director.
Yeah.
You guys hear that?
Yep.
Isn't it in
I don't-
the newest front side or something?
I don't know. I don't get that
We don't
magazine.
get a vote
That's a
for him,
waste
though,
of
do
money.
we?
No, we definitely wouldn't. But I mean,
Okay.
if he's
Well-
not running opposed, because he's replacing Sherwin who's leaving. But if he's not running opposed, like everybody vote for Matt. Because if you vote for Matt, you'll be putting a actual competitive shooter on the board. And right now, the board needs shooters.
Yes.
It doesn't need a bunch of like, I'm not going to say any of their names, but board members who haven't shot a gun competitively or even tried to be competitive in the last decade. So
Well, I
vote for
wonder if
Matt.
that's fundamentally IDPA's problem also.
Probably. Probably. I mean, there's such a a separation between
Yeah.
shooters and people who are actually running the org.
Well, it's like it's what keeps you level. Competition and seeing your name on a list. It's like
Mhm.
this is how you're graded and sorted out. Reconcile yourself with that and go on with life, right? And so it's like if you have like something to protect or like some dignity or something like that, you don't shoot. It's just like, well, how in touch with the actual shooting can you actually be? Not much.
Very much.
But
So.
we know being a shooter doesn't solve everything because the last USPSA president
No,
was a shooter, and
last two.
last couple, and that certainly is not a silver bullet.
No,
No, but I mean, if you're going to err on the side of somebody who is still playing the game
Yes.
and purportedly cares about it,
Yes.
is not just trying to like create sweetheart
Market
deals
it
for
to
his
other
sig
people.
buddies.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I say everybody should go out and try and convince Yi Min to like become president.
yep.
Yes.
And
Because,
he
I mean,
needs to
he
run.
actually would care.
He needs to run on a platform of weight limits. Weight limits, everybody solves your problems. Anyways,
And bringing back music.
bringing back music and precision holsters. Get on the Flip 4 holster one button play thing for intros and outros. Speaking of intros and outros, thank you for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the PARAcast. We really appreciate it. Doing all the things that you guys do and still listening to this. We're quickly closing on 300 episodes. Imagine that. So we're doing that. So thanks for doing all that. For Steve Koski, Robert Wyatt, and Kenny Terry, I'm Tom Nelson, bidding you peace, love, and soul as we depart into the open waters of the Sea of Life on a little tugboat we like to call the PARAcast.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Good night, everybody.
Toot toot.